Hey guys, this is Courtney from Cosmic Clarity Astrology, and I'm super excited today to be talking about the Scorpio full moon that's happening on April 23rd. So let's go ahead and dive into what this looks like. I will be doing the forecasts for all the signs. So if this video comes out first, whenever those signs are posted, you can find them in the description box down below. Okay, so this full moon, as I mentioned, is happening on the 23rd at 4 degrees and 18 seconds of Scorpio. That means that the moon is then in Scorpio and the sun is opposite it in the sign of Taurus. So this is an interesting full moon, like most of them are. But this one is particularly interesting to me because it is making a square to Pluto, which is the modern ruler of Scorpio, where this moon is taking place. So it really has these kind of strong scorpionic themes, which if you are aware of astrology, you likely have heard of the terminology death and rebirth. And that's definitely a theme I'm already seeing coming through with this full moon. I keep wanting to say eclipse because we just got done with our eclipses, but that's a theme I'm seeing with this particular full moon, especially because also not only is Pluto involved, but the traditional ruler, which is of Scorpio, which is Mars, is in Pisces, which is the final sign of the zodiac, and to me does indicate some type of letting something go, releasing something to start anew. So really I'm getting the sense that this full moon is trying to help us self-reflect a little bit more about some kind of area of our life where we have been maybe continuing to invest into something or see something a certain way or spend time on something or energy on something or money on something that isn't really helpful for us. Scorpio is a sign that is very much related to our depth. It helps us get down to the real reason, the real meaning behind things, to see our own kind of psychological workings and our attachment styles and how all of these things fit together in order to kind of come out as the final result of our behavior. And with this full moon, with this being a full moon, it illuminates, it brings clarity, it brings awareness into our own, again, psychological workings. I think that this is going to have to challenge us to reconnect with something that we may have become disassociated from or disconnected from or detached from, because this full moon squares Pluto in Aquarius. And one thing I do see very commonly take place is with Aquarius is this kind of aloofness that people say, but really I think it's more of a dissociative state rather than an aloofness. And it is a coping mechanism that's very common to Aquarius when things feel overwhelming, when things are not going our way, when things are not easy. One of the things that someone will do if they have an Aquarius planet, especially a personal planet, is they will stop feeling by going out into somewhere else, and that type of dissociation can vary from person to person, but there's this level of emotional detachment from something where we are going through the motions and we're not feeling the pain or the residue of those experiences kind of turning on us or affecting us. And so it's like we're able to keep going with things longer than we should because we are detaching from the emotional repercussions or the awareness of something and how it really affects us in our life. So for example, for me, I've been thinking a lot about my eating habits lately, and this is also looking at the full moon in my chart and where Pluto's falling in my chart within the sixth house of health. And it very much does kind of translate for me that there's something going on here, potentially with a disconnect with my physical body. Maybe I'm not noticing when I'm full or how foods are affecting me, or if an emotional experience is influencing what I'm eating. And so you can see how you could keep eating bad foods, or I could keep eating the wrong foods, maybe foods I'm allergic to or that just aren't suiting me because of that disconnect or that disassociation or detachment. And so that is one of the main messages from this full moon, is really having us become aware of what are we detached from within ourselves. This detachment then potentially prolongs our suffering, even though we're not feeling it, because we're again not feeling it, and that is leading to a slower reaction time. So I feel like I'm explaining that clearly enough. So what I see this full moon doing is it's having us really go within to look at why we're doing certain things, what we are detached or not fully engaged with in our life, how that level of kind of autopilot can be doing us a disservice and could be leading us to a place that we don't actually want to go. And then reclaiming our power with this Scorpio energy, going through the process of the rebirth where we're not only facing these difficult emotions, we're finally reconnecting with ourselves. And we can do that through various means. We can, first of all, in relationships, or even with a relationship with ourselves, we can generate more intimacy. And that could look like sharing truths, journaling, self-reflecting, having time alone. Mars, the ruler of this full moon, is in Pisces with Neptune. It's very spiritual. We're really open right now. So the best way to really access this level of connection is through source, through spirits, through our dreams, through messages through meditation, synchronicities, things that you hear in songs, things that you hear on tarot videos, this video. All those things are going to speak really to you right now. And you are much more of an open channel, much more receptive during this period of time. And so it's best to use this to open your sight, open your ears, and really take in the messages around where you have maybe automatically disconnected and not even realized it fully, or where you may have some awareness, but it's been difficult to face it. This full moon can really help us face that through the courage of spirit, through our, by prayer, asking for help, like following your intuition and realizing that you don't have to do this on your own. I think that's a really big part of this full moon with such strong Neptunian Pisces energy. Another really important way that we can reconnect to this area of our life is through our physical senses, through our body, through our breath, to become aware of the physical reactions that take place as a result of our body processing what we're experiencing. So like I mentioned earlier, if I'm eating the wrong foods, then I would feel a certain type of way, and my body would be sending me messages. Or if you're in the wrong relationship, your body's definitely going to send you messages. Maybe you don't want to have sex with that person anymore. Maybe you feel nervous or, tightness in your chest. So listen to the cues of your body and connect with your breath to further come into the body, into the senses, into the emotions, physical senses that accompany those emotions. And you can become, again, reconnected to that area of your life through and how you feel about it through the body. So one of the reasons I say that is because this Mars and Neptune conjunction, again, Mars is the ruler of this full moon, is making a beautiful sextile to Jupiter and Uranus and Taurus. So it's really saying that not only can you access this openness through spirit with this Pisces nature and the dreams and the synchronicities, but you can also access it through your physical body and being much more in tune with what's happening within you in order to understand and make sense of maybe some of the signs that you've noticed and apply it to your life in a more practical sense. So I see these energies really working together in this beautiful and positive way. So what I think is going to happen is that once you start to awaken to these things again, once you start to reconnect to them and feel them physically, it becomes impossible to ignore them. It becomes impossible to continue to make those decisions with full awareness in each moment. And so, I mean, maybe not impossible, but it makes it harder. And so from that place, we then have the option to change. And this full moon, again, squares Pluto in Aquarius, a fixed sign. So I don't think that change will necessarily be easy. I think it's something that we will be challenged with, kind of almost like a resistance of, I want to hold on to how I was. I want to hold on to my old habits, this old person, this old thing. And then like this desire for things to just be status quo. And it might feel enticing to just kind of fall back into what has been, into what is familiar. And I think it's going to be, the Scorpio energies is can often resist change as well. But Scorpio also, I find that they resist change and then they have this breakthrough point. And that is what I'm hoping this full moon will give for many of us, that we will resist change and then we will finally reach a breakthrough point where we can't go back, where we can't unsee, we can't unfeel, we can't unknow what we know. And then from that point on, we realize that we can't continue on like this. We need something to end, and we stop resisting the end. Instead, we dive into it and we bring all of our fears and our shadows and everything along, and it becomes reborn in an essence where we that energy then gets transmuted into some other facet of our life. It helps us grow as people. It helps us reach for more. And I think that many of us are going to be kind of teetering on that growth edge around this full moon, and I think it could be uncomfortable. This is a Scorpio full moon. It is, again, ruled by Mars. So I think that there can be some elements of impatience or antsiness or agitation, nervousness, uncertainty, maybe even at periods of self-doubt. But I think that's to be expected. And if we can kind of go into this knowing, oh, I'm supposed to feel those things, that can actually be very beneficial for us so that we don't resist even more the full experience, the wobbliness of the transformation. It's normal that when you're making a big change, a rebirth, that you might slip up. It's normal that you might have doubt. It's normal that you might not, know what you're doing at first, or that you have to keep trying. And so I think that this full moon is giving compassion and grace to those really normal human experiences involved in the death and rebirth process of Scorpio. I think ultimately what's super important about this full moon is our ability to truly kind of step out of our everyday life. And I see that with the ruler of the full moon being in Pisces, conjunct Neptune. This very much wants us to free ourselves from, just like getting caught up. Really having us retreat, go within, do spiritual and personal contemplation. And this takes time. This takes effort to carve out spaciousness, to listen, to absorb. And it's only through doing that we're going to get the right signs around how to move forward with things and how to connect more to these areas of our life that we've been detached from. And so I think that that's kind of the major prerequisite, is that we need to have enough quiet, enough spaciousness, enough time alone to be able to tap into what our heart's true desires are for ourselves, what our soul's true desire is for our life path, and if we're in alignment with that or not. So ultimately, I feel like we're going to have an ending, and then we're going to have a beginning. And a lot of this is governed by this unseen power, this Pisces energy of the spirit world that is trying to usher us into a new beginning that we can't see yet. And because of that, we can sometimes try to hold on to what's familiar because we don't know what's next, and that can feel quite scary. But this being a full moon with Mars conjunct Neptune, it really has us ease into the element of surrender and flow of, maybe I don't know what's next, but I can trust the process. I can trust the unseen. I can trust the divine, and surrender to this natural unfolding that I can't see, but I know will turn out okay. Also, with Mars and Pisces sextiling Jupiter and Uranus, I feel like it's really having us, again, focus on the physical body, on this Taurus energy, on the breath. But also the other element of Taurus is very much our value systems. It's ruled by Venus, our priorities, what we would pay for example. And so I think the other part of this equation is, are we needing to maybe adjust our values, our priorities? And ultimately, I feel like your values are basically a belief system, which is very Jupiter in nature, that you then reflect into your physical reality by how you spend time, money, and energy on things, or how you view things. So ultimately, I feel like there's this kind of shaking up of that energy, of reevaluating your values and your priorities and adjusting your life accordingly, as well as maybe the need to ask for support or look for additional things that maybe you wouldn't normally do. And the reason I say that is because Jupiter and Uranus together in Taurus has actually quite an independent energy, especially with the North Node areas. These are all very much like an energy of, I will do this on my own. I'll do this by myself. I'll make all these changes alone. And I'm not saying that you can't do that, but with the Scorpio full moon, Scorpio is all about shared energy, shared intimacy, shared resources. It really does want us to not only deep dive into ourselves, but have some sort of support from others to reflect things back to us or to help us with the process. So if there's any way in which you can receive support in this ending and new beginning, I think that that's also really encouraged at this time. And it might even be beneficial to do some kind of ritual to signify the phase of one thing ending into a new beginning, or change up your rituals. And if you think rituals are basically habits that you add some level of sacredness to. So it's almost like where, like, for example, I love to get a chai, and that's very ritualistic for me, but maybe there's something healthier even that I could add instead of that. And so it's just beneficial to, I think, look at what we have been devoted to, what we have added value, like valued it basically in our life, and have clearly spent time and energy and money and put the sacredness into it, and look and see if we need to maybe make adjustments there, or if we can at the very least honor some kind of transition through a ritual that we have. So I hope that makes sense. But that, I think, really points back to the Pisces energy of this full moon. So I guess the last thing I'll mention is this super pileup of planets, which we have the North Node, Mercury, Chiron, and Venus all together in Aries. So they're all conjunct. So it's a stellium happening that's kind of generating a lot of energy here. Excuse me. And I really feel like this is trying to help us understand where we, like, a little bit more, I guess, around the origin of some of the woundings that we've been through that can contribute to our current values or our current beliefs or our current way of doing things. So, like, using myself as an example, my current eating habits or, whatever else, where is that coming from? Is there like an original wounding? Was there something that was taught to me, mirrored to me? And then if so, where was that original wounding from? So it's basically trying to help us kind of trace things back to the first time in our life, or to the origin, the source of the discomfort, the dissatisfaction, the disappointment, whatever that negative thing is trying to help us spot that so that we can make a plan or a way to get out of it, so that we can make different choices, so that we can move forward in a new kind of direction and regenerate ourselves, and hopefully not fall back into an attachment to that familiar thing. But really, I think these planets are serving us to go further into the origin story of where this detachment has arisen from. What was that discomfort? Why were we feeling that way? And what can we do about it? And I think that this pioneering Aries energy can really help us to break new ground in areas of our life that we may have felt like we were really on a treadmill with, because we have been unconscious or disconnected from some area of our life. So that is what I'm seeing for the full moon. Definitely very Scorpio nature, again, very much psychological, all about transforming ourselves, empowering ourselves, being willing to release things and end things, being willing to try something new and start something new, and ask for help when we need help. So that is what I'm seeing. If you enjoyed the synopsis, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share with your friends. If you want to check out the full readings for all the other signs, I will link that in the description box down below. And don't forget, if you want a reading from me, you can always get that at cosmicclearastrology.com. And I hope you have a beautiful day.